If you've never gone to war with an HOA president, good for you, because there is something uniquely exhausting about being bullied by a woman in a golf cart holding a laminated sign like it came down from Mount Sinai. The day Ashley tried to fine my 10-year-old nephew for catching bluegill in the neighborhood pond, I stopped seeing her as annoying. I started seeing her as a problem that needed to be solved. This happened in Pelican's Perch, Naples, Florida. One of those pastel, aggressively regulated neighborhoods where even the mailbox flag seems supervised. At the top of that whole beige little empire was Ashley, the HOA president, with a radar gun in her lifted golf cart, and the permanent expression of somebody who believed fun was a code violation. My nephew Tommy was visiting for the week. Sweet kid, quiet kid, the kind who'd rather watch turtles than stare at a screen. I bought him a cheap spinning rod and took him down to the community retention pond. Years before that pond had been part of a public park. For decades, people tossed coins in there, dropped keys, sunglasses, junk, whatever. By the time the HOA fenced it off and started pretending it was sacred, the bottom had to be full of bad decisions. Tommy had barely cast his line when I heard the whine of Ashley's golf cart. She came off the path, ripped across the grass, slammed the brakes, and marched toward us like she was raiding a crime scene. "Can you read?" she snapped, pointing to a crooked post. Stapled to it was a badly laminated sheet of pink paper that said, "No fishing violators, fined $150. Tommy looked like he was about to cry. I kept my hand on his shoulder and said, "Ashley, he's 10. We're catching little bluegill and throwing them back." "The rules are the rules," she said, opening her citation pad. "The fish are community aesthetic property." To this day, that remains one of the stupidest sentences I've ever heard. Community aesthetic property, like the fish had title deeds. I could have argued, but Ashley lived for public conflict. So I told Tommy to reel in, packed up our gear, and walked him home while she stood there feeling victorious. That night after Tommy fell asleep, I sat in my kitchen and started reading Florida law. Because people like Ashley love vague rules, but the law gets very specific when you look closely. Buried in the statute book, I found exactly what I needed. Florida defined fishing as the taking or attempted taking of wildlife. Wildlife. Fish, turtles, frogs, living things. Not coins, not rusted junk, not metal. So I ordered a 1,200-pound pull-force neodymium magnet rope and gloves. If Ashley wanted to ban fishing, fine. I'd go pull something else out of that pond. 2 days later, the magnet arrived. I tied on the rope, grabbed a 5-gallon bucket, and marched straight back to the pond. On purpose, I walked past Ashley's house and looked directly into her Ring camera. I wanted her watching. At the exact same spot where Tommy got chased off, I hurled that magnet into the water. It hit with a deep kerplunk. I let it sink, then started dragging. The first pull felt like hauling a dead washing machine through cake batter. When it surfaced, the magnet came up wrapped in black slime and decades of garbage, a shopping cart, wheels, spark plugs, broken sunglasses, and a clump of coins. I dropped the coins into the bucket, and that metallic rattle sounded like a choir. Second throw, more coins. Third throw, matchbox cars, rusty hardware. Every pass through that mud brought up more junk and more money. That pond wasn't just dirty, it was a sunken piggy bank. She came flying down the path, amber light flashing, and jumped out already yelling, "I told you, no fishing." I held up the dripping magnet. "Do you see a hook, Ashley? Do you see bait? You have a line in the water." "Yes," I said. "And what I'm pulling out is a spark plug and 42 cents. Unless Florida has classified quarters as aquatic wildlife, I am not fishing." She froze for half a second, then changed the accusation. "Fine. Unauthorized pond maintenance. Only approved vendors can alter community waterways. I'm fining you and calling a special board meeting." She sped off across the grass, leaving tire tracks and outrage behind. I watched her go and realized she'd just given me my next move. So I called Dave. Every neighborhood should have one Dave licensed contractor demolition guy, built like a refrigerator, smart enough to smell a loophole. When I explained the situation, he got quiet, then started laughing. "You want me to hire you," he said, "to magnet drag a pond." "Not drag," I told him. "Remediate." He showed up wearing boots, a high-vis vest, and a hard hat, carrying a clipboard. In my kitchen, he handed me the greatest document I've ever seen. Master Subcontractor Agreement for Hazardous Aquatic Remediation. According to that masterpiece, I was now the officially retained extracting party, authorized to perform subaquatic ferrous extraction within Pelican's Perch for the sum of $1 plus salvage rights to anything abandoned I recovered. Then Dave slapped a wrinkled $1 bill on my counter and said, "Pleasure doing business with you." From that point on, every afternoon at 4, I went back to the pond like I was clocking into a very strange job. I hauled up rusted scooter parts, bike frame pieces, batteries, corroded tools, foreign coins, enough change to make the bucket heavy. It was brutal work, shoulders burning back, screaming pond mud, stinking like swamp rot, but every clang of metal felt like a little victory. Near the center fountain, my magnet locked onto something massive. I dug my boots into the bank and pulled until this huge rusted knot of wire fencing came rising out of the water like a sea monster. And woven all through it, glittering under the muck, were hundreds and hundreds of coins. 3 decades worth of wishes and loose change, all trapped in one metal snare. She screamed that I was stealing community property and called the police. I told her to go ahead. So we stood there waiting in the heat, Ashley pacing beside her golf cart, me calmly plucking crusty quarters out of the wire ball and dropping them into my bucket. When the Naples police showed up, the older officer took one look at the giant magnet, the rope in the pile of rusted debris, then sighed like a man who had definitely responded to too many HOA disputes. Ashley unloaded first poaching, vandalism, theft, unlicensed business. Then I handed over my absurdly official $1 contract and calmly explained I was performing voluntary debris remediation. The officer read the contract, looked at me, looked at Dave's letterhead, and I swear I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. Then Ashley made the mistake that ended her. She insisted the coins belonged to the HOA because they came out of the pond. That was my opening. I told the officers I'd like to report the discovery of abandoned property under Florida law. Unless the HOA could identify every person who'd thrown every coin into that pond over the last 30 years, the money was abandoned property. Ashley shouted that the HOA claimed all of it. So I asked her very gently, "Are you sure? Because if the HOA wanted the coins, then the HOA also wanted everything else down there. The batteries, the rusted metal, the corroded trash, the whole toxic mess sitting in a stormwater pond." In one sentence, she had nearly claimed legal ownership of an underwater junkyard. The color left her face so fast it was almost impressive. The older officer cleared his throat and said, "Ma'am, unless you want to officially claim the hazardous debris as well, this is a civil matter." And just like that, the trap snapped shut. After the police left, Ashley stood there stunned while I smashed coins loose from the wire ball with a rubber mallet and let them rain into my bucket. I told her I'd be back tomorrow. Over the next few days, my garage turned into a grimy little mint. Buckets of coins, tumblers, grinding my hands, smelling like pennies and pond water. By Tuesday afternoon, after cleaning and sorting every usable coin, I had a final total, $3,412.85. Ashley had tried to fine me $150 and instead financed 3 years of my HOA dues. That night was the monthly board meeting. I poured every last coin into a giant glass brewing carboy, strapped the 85-pound beast to an appliance dolly, and rolled it straight into the clubhouse while Ashley was giving a speech about rogue industrial scavenging. I parked that glittering mountain of cleaned currency right in front of the board table. Ashley stared at it like it was radioactive. Then I explained, loud enough for everyone to hear, that the funds had been lawfully recovered and that I was there to prepay my HOA dues. I handed over a written request to apply the money to my account. Arthur, the treasurer, blinked at me. "You want to pay with that?" "Yes," I said. "Legal tender. 36 months of dues with a credit left over." Ashley whispered, "We do not accept loose change." I'd checked that too. Their own payment rules allowed legal tender. Arthur knew it. The board knew it. Ashley knew it. And when Arthur finally muttered, "We have to accept it," the whole room broke into laughter. I walked out of that clubhouse with an empty dolly and the kind of peace money usually can't buy. A few weeks later, the HOA posted a giant metal sign banning fishing magnets, ropes, salvage devices, and basically any activity that might remind Ashley of me. But it didn't matter. All the noise she made triggered a city inspection. The pond got tested, contamination was found, the HOA got cited, and a full cleanup was ordered. Dave got the contract. The board got the bill. And my account stayed prepaid month after month, each statement showing that beautiful deduction from what Arthur labeled coin credit. The part that stayed with me wasn't really the money, though. It was the reminder that power without humility turns ridiculous fast. Ashley thought authority meant she got to invent reality as she went. But people like that only look invincible until somebody calmly reads the rules back to them. So now I'm curious. If you were in my place, would you have taken the win and walked away, or gone all the way just to make sure the bully never tried it again? And if you've ever had your own run-in with an HOA, a petty official, or somebody drunk on a tiny scrap of power, share it. Where do you draw the line between justice and deliciously deserved payback.